What's going on, you guys? It's me, AnarchYxNinja. So today, we're going to review Acolyte Episode 7. Side note, we are live streaming. We just started it. I'm going to give my reviews, or my thoughts before I look at the chat, and then after that, we'll break down what the chat's saying. Anyway, long story short, it's not good, dude. This episode was just... We waited 7 episodes to get this flashback. That was pretty obvious. Even our predictions were pretty spot on. So there's really no excitement in it. We kind of could see it was coming. So building up to this being there's only 8 episodes in the entire season. So episode 7 is usually pretty big. This one really didn't do nothing we didn't already know. So in terms of that, it's not very impactful. Just the acting of this particular season, or this particular episode, just really felt clunky. The decisions didn't make sense, and no, I'm not even talking like, that's not how Jedi would act. I'm not even talking on that nostalgia level of that. I just mean, based off watching the show, the decisions they make don't make sense. I don't remember what's the young Padawan's name? The one who was meditating. I forgot his name off the top of my head. Out of nowhere, he just jumps on the bike and goes to get to the castle where the witches are at. And I get it, because he wants to go home, but the decision just felt really weird. The acting by the mother Anasea lady just was really awkward. Even when they tried to have a big impactful moment where I choose, like, you're a leader, but you're also their mother. Which do you choose? Blah, blah, blah. She goes, I choose mother. And it was just the most corny, awkward, like, this episode, I don't have much to say that's positive. It's just sad seeing Star Wars at such a sad state right now, where I'm not even talking about them ruining the lore aspect. I know that's what everybody always chooses as the main thing. I'm not even talking about that. The fact that this show is so lackluster, nothing really happened that we didn't already know would happen. Soul ultimately kills Anasea when she was gonna let her go, but it's just that scene was awkward, and it didn't even feel impactful. Soul's acting wasn't very good in this particular episode. He's been fine other episodes. This episode, it just felt really weird, and just I really don't know what to say, man. The fire spreading, which was one of our problems from the first flashback, now we've confirmed it. My main thing with the fire spreading, it didn't make any sense because it's all concrete. I get the fire initially spreading by the door because, you know, there's the gas from the lantern, blah, 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 blah. But now it spreads to the whole place and it all lights on fire. It just felt really strange to me. We were right that Kanaka was going to be the one who was mind-tricked again, if you will. Like, whatever witch mind-trick. It was either going to be the Padawan that, for whatever reason, I can't remember his name. Tommen, I guess you could say, from Game of Thrones. Or it was going to be Kanaka. We knew the fight was coming because we saw that in the trailer early on, and we hadn't seen it in the show yet, so we knew it was coming. So again, that kind of took away from the excitement of this episode. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I just don't got much positive to say about it. I really just... Even, what's her name? The leader of the Jedi that was there. I'm drawing blanks on all these names. Her reaction to the whole massacre didn't make much sense either. I get they want to be a cover-up, but then she's like, oh, we're doing this, blah, 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 blah. Oh, now, you know what? Now we're just gonna lie, because you need to raise this kid. They made... This part, I guess you could say, is a little weird with the lore, because I've always thought the Jedi were weird. I'm not one of those Jedi lovers that's nostalgic to them, and oh my god, Jedi are amazing, don't make them look bad. No. They made their attachment to the kids look very fucking strange to me. But, whatever. You do what you want on that one, I guess, but... I don't know. I really don't have much positive to say about this show, and the fact that there's only 1 episode left, and this episode really didn't do anything that we didn't already know. I guess the main thing that was interesting is that they talked about Brendok, that planet, being affected by a hyperspace disaster a long time ago. That's why the Jedi were initially there looking for signs of life, and if the planet was a Virgins or whatever, some magic super force power, and that's why they wanted it. That's the only thing that kind of interests me that went into the creation of life on the planet, aka those 2 girls. Other than that, I'm gonna be honest, this episode didn't need to even happen, really, or the flashback could have been handled differently. The whole episode was a flashback. It didn't advance the overall story hardly at all, other than the mention of the planet having a Virgins on it. Everything else we kind of could see coming. You know, and this time I kind of spoiled it by looking on Twitter and seeing what people were saying. And again, it's kind of my problem with the Star Wars fandom as a whole. I'm breaking things down objectively. I'm not using the nostalgia of the Jedi or making them look bad. I figured they've been bad for a long time, so I don't care. But I keep seeing the other side of Star Wars fans, who they are just loving and eating this show up. And I'm gonna be honest, that's dangerous. You know, I wish I were you to a certain extent, where I could just enjoy stuff. Even though it's blatantly not good. The pacing of the show is awful. The structure of this show is awful. It's not particularly good. And just seeing so many of them like, oh my god, that's so impactful, Mother Anastasia. Mother Anastasia felt very strange. Again, it wasn't even hard to predict. We figured, we said this back in the first flashback, I go, probably Anastasia's gonna want the kid to go, the other mother, again, forgetting her name, is not gonna want the kid to go, there's gonna be conflict between them there. That's where this all starts. It's all too easy to see happening, and not in a good way. And that's exactly what happened. So there's like no excitement building up to this. But there's so many Star Wars fans acting like this is just next level writing, the show's amazing, and when we allow Star Wars to make shows of this lackluster quality and hype them up, and you're not doing it because you like the show. I'm gonna be honest, a lot of them are doing it because on social media you gotta pick a side. It's the same way in politics and everything. There's the side that hates it and there's the side that loves it. Both of them are on opposite sides, the far sides of the spectrum. Me in the middle, I want to like the show, but it's not particularly good. There's aspects in there that I like, but the execution of the show is absolutely horrid, in my opinion. But a lot of the dudes liking this show, or to me, I could be completely wrong, they're just liking it because they're on that side, and they're just afraid if they start just voicing their opinions against it, they're going to be put in that other group that they don't like. They're on this side, they don't want to be labeled as the other side group. They're too afraid to voice their opinions. This show is not good. That's, in my opinion, I don't even think it's an opinion, really. It's just the pacing of the show's horrible, the structure of the show's horrible, the acting of the show's not very good. When you factor in the amount of budget this show has, I don't even think CGI is good, and they're missing the mark on a lot of this. The show is I know a lot of the people are saying it's probably would be better if it was a movie. I'm not even sold on that. I think it would be better if you watched all the episodes at once instead of having to wait a week between each episode. But the fact that we're going into the finale now, and there's literally like, it's just going to be cliffhangers now. They kind of have to. They're going to have a big season finale, obviously. You always do, every show does. But the build-up to it has been horrible. I personally, I feel bad that so many people are deciding to just blatantly love this show when there's so much objectively wrong with it. And again, the problem with that is, if there's still enough of them that keep doing that, Star Wars isn't going to have to hold themselves accountable. They're going to be fine. This is fine. People just like it and dislike it. We can make this. They don't need to hold themselves accountable and make really good content. This content has been very lackluster from this show. So, I don't know. I'm sure I'm missing stuff. Let's go see what the chat's saying, but it's just... Side note, I mean, this is just one more thing before I say what the chat says. I kind of get it, but it kind of also annoyed me when they were fighting Torben, the Jedi name, and Cal Nuka. I get they didn't want to kill each other, right? So I can write this off what I'm saying. So it's just a small nitpick. This isn't a big deal. But when he pinned him against the wall, when Cal Nuka pinned Torben against the wall, Torben literally has his lightsaber ignited and could literally just swipe him at any given point and take out Cal Nuka. Cal Nuka could have also killed him at that point, which doesn't make sense because Cal Nuka was mind tricked. He probably should have been killing him at that point. The choreography kind of sucks. So Cal Nuka should have killed Torben because he was out of control. He clearly was, because they needed Indara, there's the other name, they're randomly coming back to me, to save him. So he should have killed Torben in that series of dialogue there. The dialogue was bad. Or, not the dialogue, the what do you call it? The choreography. Let me rephrase that. The choreography was bad on those scenes. It was good in the other episodes. I can look over some of the small nitpicks. This one, it was not good. Torben could have killed him when he pushed him against the wall. Didn't. Echoed Book of Boba Fett levels of garbage writing in terms of choreography. But even then, Torben has his lightsaber there, like, I'm being hurt so bad. Like, literally, all you gotta do is flick your wrist and your lightsaber's going directly into Cal Nuka. But I get, in his case, he probably didn't want to kill him, even though I think that's a little bit of bullshit. Chop his arm off, dude, this dude's about to kill you, but I get it. Jedi, you know, they have mysterious ways. Choreography wasn't very good. And then I guess the only other thing we didn't mention was to save Kalnucka, Indara grabs him and does like her reverse mind trick, and that kills all the witches that were in his mind. Kind of weird scene to me, but whatever. Anyway, let's see what the chat says. I know it's not going to be good because we have realistic fans on my channel, not a bunch of I just hate it and a bunch of I love everything Star Wars, so it's not going to be good. I can already tell you what my fans are thinking without looking. But, and I agree, that this show, it's just, we built up, it was shit. We had an awesome moment in episode 5, I believe it was, with the duel. Let's go. And then they immediately followed up with a shit lackluster episode in episode 6. And here we go, building up to a flashback that I don't think should have been an entire episode. And we wasted a whole episode 7 when there's only one more episode after this. And we advanced the story in virtually no way other than them talking about the divergence, or the divergence, whatever, blah, 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 the force power. This show is just, it's bad. Especially when you compare it to a show like House of the Dragon, which has a similar budget coming out at the same time, where every episode's awesome. And then you come to this one, and we're just struggling to find something awesome. And a lot of those dudes liking the show, they're struggling to like it. Like, the shit they're saying is, you can tell they're just saying it to say it. It's not, I don't think anybody out there is thinking Mother Anasea is an amazing character, but when you go on Twitter, they're like, oh, yes, Anasea. I'm like, that character wasn't good. The acting wasn't good. It was obvious what was going to happen for the whole time. We called it. There's no excitement in this writing whatsoever. It's like, what are we fucking doing with a show, man? And now the excitement in the finale is, now what? I guess we can get into our predictions. We still haven't looked at chat yet. Sorry, I keep saying we are, and then we don't. Now what do we do? So now we're going to talk about the council. What's going to happen? We're going to see Soul maybe talk about, like, it's just... There's too much stuff to happen in one episode in this finale, and there's been nothing. How do I put it? There's so many plot points they could do stuff in this season that they are now saving to squeeze into one episode. So they're either going to rush through those plot points, or they're going to save them for a season 2. And let's face it, season 2 is probably not highly wanted. I know there's going to be some people, oh, the Acolyte's amazing, but they're that ass-kissing side that they're just telling you, you know, they just don't want to be labeled as the haters. You know, that's literally it. Most of these complaints you can disprove with facts, so. Yeah. I really... I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just trying not to get this demonetized, but... Just join. How was the episode? Not good. Wasted it. Let's look at the chat while we wait for these guys to get here. Let's see if we can find any comments that are relevant. Do I think they'll get a second season? I don't want a second season. This season, this show's been handled so poorly. No, but whatever. I feel like they're gonna kind of have to with the way the writing is, because again, like I said, they're going into the last episode with so many plot points. We don't know anything about. Man, I'm horrible with names. The Stranger, the lightsaber wielding guy, the awesome guy we like. We don't know anything about him. We don't know what's gonna happen with Soul in the council. We don't know what's gonna happen with May, and then then they have to factor in if there's gonna be a Plagueis involved in it, or Tenebrous. There's so much stuff they have to do in one episode now, and by having this lackluster writing, you either have to cram it into one episode and go over these things too fast, or you gotta save it for a season 2. And let's just put it this way: after this, the finale can't save it for me. Even if the finale's perfect, the show itself is not good. 2 episodes out of 8 that I find enjoyment in, that's not a good enough show for me, in my opinion. Especially when we compare House of the Dragon. We watch 4 episodes, and I'm like, dude, let's go, this is awesome. They don't spend all day building up to that one plot point. Like we said in the previous review, they have the flashback we knew was coming, and again, very predictable, now confirmed after this. But that they built up to that as being one of the big moments, and it wasn't very big. It's just... it was all predictable. We could see it coming, and even the acting of it I didn't think was good. so it kind of takes away from the significance of it. And they saved that for episode 7, where this, if it was shot in House of the Dragon style, this would have been something done early on and done quick, and we could move on to the more awesome plot points. But no, this show decides to drag it out. It's just, oh man,
The base is still evacuated. We need more time.
Yeah, it's just not very, yeah, I really don't. I don't know if it's worse than MOBA. It's up there, though, for me anyway. It's up there with Boba and Kenobi in terms of the worst show right now. Its structure's just horrible. That's probably one of my main complaints. The acting's horrible, CGI's horrible. There's a couple things in the plot I'm kind of like, that could be interesting, but the way they're dealing with it, you're not even getting to it. It's just like, ah, man. It just leaves such a bad taste in my mouth, man. Like, Star Wars should be so much better, dude. The fact that there's so many people absolutely loving this on social media just to get their brownie points annoys me, because we should be expecting so much better from Star Wars. This show is a pile of poo-poo compared to other shows that are out there, and even other Disney Star Wars shows. It is not good, objectively speaking, and they're just like out there loving it, dude. And it's sad to me, because it's just, if you don't hold Disney accountable, they're not going to fix anything. They're going to be, nah, look, there's enough people who like it. So anyway, I don't have high hopes going into anything Disney Star Wars. I haven't had for a while, and now this only confirms it. Did this show save it? Absolutely not. Not even close, in my opinion. But, hey, whatever. Yeah, I really don't care about spoilers on this show either. Really, you don't even need to look at spoilers. It's all very predictable, to be honest. It's not anything crazy. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Why did Torben kill himself? We said they needed to have that payoff be good. The payoff wasn't good. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I completely forgot about that. But all he did was get mind tricked. And his mind trick didn't even lead to the death of the people. It was actually Cal Nucka's mind trick. So if anybody should be killing himself out of guilt, it should have actually been Cal Nucka, not Torben. So if they wanted to write that scene better, they should have had Torben get mind tricked again. And they kind of went down that route where you can't get mind tricked again, man. You gotta be stronger than this. And have him get mind tricked again. Now he'd feel he's weak. That's why he's meditating in the Force more. And because he had to be saved by, what's the good Jedi's name? Is it Venestra? Or the female Jedi, the leader of that group? I think it's Venestra, I don't know. But whatever. That lady would have then had to save him by killing all the witches and getting them out of his head. That would make more sense why Torben wanted to kill himself. But they didn't do that, so that's another point that just doesn't make sense in this writing. Why is he killing himself for that? He got mind tricked, but it didn't lead to anything bad. Cal Nucka did. So him killing himself is just very out of place. It doesn't fit. Where I was on board with it early on, but they needed to have a good payoff. The payoff was not good whatsoever. Doesn't make any sense. So GG's on their storytelling yet again. Makes zero sense. But here we go. There's another great thing about Disney Star Wars. They just,
it'll all be lost in seconds,
man,
unless you stop them.
It's just sad, dude. This show should be so much better, dude. That's really my last. Your wife watched it and she's not a huge Star Wars nerd and she thinks it's bad. I agree with her. And again, like I said, I'm very good at separating Star Wars lore. And I'm actually more on board with the lore now that someone's explained to me all the fucking comics and shit, which I don't think you should have to know to watch a show. They need to do a better job explaining that, not just in comics and books. But even then, I don't think it's super lore breaking now. But just objectively speaking, from the way the show's structured, the acting and the CGI and everything about it, the writing, it's not good. It's just breaking a show down. It's not very good. Whether you like Star Wars or not, you can break down that this show's not good. It doesn't need to affect the lore. You don't need to be nostalgic to Jedi and, oh, they're hurting Luke Skywalker or Anakin. You can separate it from that. The show's not good. But yeah, this episode came out very corny. There were moments with Soul where I'm like, oh, this acting sucks. The way the decision-making was done by the characters was just very abrupt, and it didn't feel like a realistic move from somebody. And I'm not just talking solely because, oh, that's not how Jedi would act. Jedi make mistakes. I'm perfectly fine with that. But just the way they jumped to certain conclusions to move the story along, it felt very weird. And my main one is Torben just randomly running off on his own to, we need to get him, this is the proof so I can go home. It felt very like, that's a stretch to go from wanting to go home to just randomly losing your mind basically and going out that way. It doesn't make sense. Mother Anastaea's acting when I choose Mother, it felt very corny to me. I'm just like, oh man. And I figured that was coming. So I'm not even mad at her choosing that outcome, right? But the writing to get her there was just very corny. I'm like, oh my goodness, dude. They should do better with the budget they have in so many different levels. It's really, yeah, I think the Acolyte is a waste of time. Minus a couple plot points here and there. For the most part, it's just, it doesn't make much sense. Yeah, that's my point, Jacob. Like, I get he wants to go home, but they made him, like, from wanting to go home to just acting like a complete fool out of nowhere, and it really just, yeah, I don't know, man. The writing for all these characters sucked, especially this episode, man. It really, I don't have much nice to say about this episode, to be honest, though. And I'm trying to break it down as objectively as possible, not just be like, I hate Star Wars Disney, you know, but I would agree with you, Navy, but if I say that, I'll get demonetized. But yeah, we have more reason to do what you just said than Torben does. Let's put it that way. Yeah, it didn't seem right, Savage. Yeah, it seemed like such a jump to go from a minor inconvenience to I'm going to go do this. It doesn't really make sense. I guess Torben could feel bad because he went there so hastily, but even then, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, I am a hater. This show sucks. Yeah, I hate bad shows, so you're right. I like good writing. This show doesn't have good writing. Not even close. So yeah, I guess you can classify me as a hater. I mean, when you consider the writing of Andor and the acting and it's so much better. And then you look at this and it's just like, man, besides that fight scene, I don't have much positive to say about this show. I don't even think that's a redeeming part. The duel between Kalnaka, Sol, and Torben. The choreography was bad compared to the choreography we got in the other one. So Kalnaka is mind-tricked. He's trying to kill these people. He grabs them and pushes them against the wall. All he has to do is stab him right then. But no, he makes Wookiee noises. He could kill him, doesn't kill him. Again, Torben, I can give a pass because he might not want to kill Kalnaka, but he's literally against the wall screaming and his hand is free with the lightsaber. All he has to do is flick his wrist. The lightsaber's going right into Kalnaka. Even if he wanted to chop his arm off, do anything. But instead of doing that, he pulls his arm under Kalnaka's arm that's holding him and blocks it. Then they get the little screamy part. It's horrible choreography. Like, you could have disarmed him, you could have at least chopped his arm off, and in Star Wars, we all know that's not that big of a deal. Let's face it. And maybe cutting his arm off would wake Torben, or not Torben, but Kalnaka up. The choreography was horrible when you come off the last episode, or the 2 episodes ago with that choreography. I'm like, it was so much better. The choreography in Andor is not fully comparable because they didn't have a bunch of Jedi fighting in, like, melee combat. But in terms of action, it made much more sense because they were one of the main things that Star Wars is so scared about killing off its main characters. They've done this in this show, at least. Where Andor, they didn't mind. The stormtroopers, they would kill people. They would aim good. They would have a realistic outcome from a gunfight. It's not just the good guys missing every shot missing the good guys and then the good guys landing every shot. It was balanced properly where you felt like, man, these guys need to be careful here. Where when you watch the movies, them running around the Death Star, even in the originals, you just didn't have to worry. These stormtroopers can't aim because they're the main characters.
And I need every last shiny ready to fight.
Lou Miguel, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, they're not good. The writing is the main thing. I don't mind them showing bad Jedi. I get, especially if you have that many, but even it just doesn't feel like they got to the right. How do I put it? I don't mind the outcome of these specific Jedi necessarily, but the writing to get them to that point needed to be better. And the writing needs to be better is not a strong suit of this show. They don't know how to do that. The writing is so bad, especially when you come off House of the Dragon and you're like, dude, everything's awesome. And then you look at the writing here. It's night and day difference. The shows, as much as we compare them because they're similar budget and come out at the same time, they're not really comparable. The writers so far through House of the Dragon are 10 times better than whatever we're getting in Acolyte. It's some of this writing is just embarrassing. It's rushed. Doesn't really make sense. It's just like, and when, especially overall on the show, when you factor in we built up to episode 5, which was awesome, and then we go take a huge step back into episode 6 where nothing really happens, and then now we go to episode 7 where again nothing really happens, and there's only one episode left. The season just feels incredibly horribly structured. It's just yeah. I could see where Andor thinks people think Andor is boring, but at least the writing is good. If anything, I think they should cut down on the amount of episodes in Andor. Where in Acolyte, they need to up the amount of episodes so they can actually explain some of the stuff better with all these plot points we still have, and they clearly don't have time to do now. Andor had a few too many episodes where I feel like you could try to tone it down a little, but not too much. I think they need to go like House of the Dragon style. Have the episodes be an hour long instead of these short little episodes, and have them be 10 episodes. I think they should start doing that doctrine. I think it would be better as a whole for Disney, but they don't want to do that, so.
Archive systems under attack.
Anyway, I guess we'll just end this video here. We've already gave our thoughts. Hopefully it doesn't get demonetized, but every video has been getting demonetized late. But fingers crossed.
The enemies don't stop